Neil, thank you. This slide's been up here long enough. You know who I am, where I'm from, what I'm going to talk about. So let's get rolling. I want to give you some grounding of where my perspective comes from. So I'm part of the team at Transform Labs. We're a technology advisory firm. We help companies leverage technology better. Of course, a lot of that work now is AI. And I run around the country now speaking about AI to different conferences, groups, at different events. I did over 50 speaking engagements last year. This year will be something similar. That gives me a front row seat into what are operators and people inside of companies actually thinking about around AI. What are their fears? What are they optimistic about? What questions do they have afterwards? Because that's always the most interesting part. I can get up here and pontificate, but afterwards, when people ask questions, that's really where I get insight into what they're thinking and feeling about where they are with AI. And then I invest in AI startups, those companies that are trying to create new business models, disrupt the way that things are working. So that gives me an interesting perspective on maybe what the future looks like in 10 years down the road, where we might end up and where we might be. So, and I do not position myself and represent myself as an expert or a guru around AI in any of this. I just have this three sort of lensed perspective around what's happening and what the future might hold and look like. So I have a challenge for everybody though, because there are going to be some things that I'm going to talk about that you're probably not going to agree with, or maybe you just don't fundamentally like and it makes you uncomfortable. So everybody be open-minded. Let's be intellectually honest too as part of this conversation and our time together. Everybody willing to be open-minded? Yes, okay, spectacular. And I'm going to remind you of that when we get to some parts where maybe you're squirming in your seat a little bit. In the immortal words of the Black Eyed Peas, let's get it started. And my 18-year-old said I should add in here. So we're going to get started in here. When I thought about this presentation and talk about designing a company for the AI era, I thought, well, wouldn't it be valuable to go grab a definition of design? There are lots of definitions of design, it turns out. This is one that I grabbed that I think is representative of where we are and what we're sort of talking about. And it references solving a specific problem or for a specific purpose. And so then the natural next thing is, what's the purpose or problem that we're trying to solve in designing companies for the AI era? And I think I have an answer. You'll judge whether it's good, bad, correct, or incorrect. I think this is what we're trying to design for, ultimately. Because I believe strongly that every company, from mid-market and up, is going to have an AI operating system that powers their business. We're going to talk about this more, we're going to unpack this, bring some more clarity and definition to it, but I think this is what we're trying to design for. How does our company have an AI operating system? And ultimately, why have an operating system, AI or otherwise? To create leverage. Talk about leverage more as we go through our time together. And in the highest value areas, are the value areas for companies different based upon the industry you're in, size of company you are, the types of products and services you provide? Not a rhetorical question. Are they different? Yes. A manufacturing company has different levels in areas of value that they want to apply leverage to versus a financial services firm, right? So this is not a singular approach that is going to provide that. A system becomes a strategic asset that produces a center of power for your business. Power is an interesting word these days, and paradox. Mostly negative. Some companies are too big to fail. Power. Billionaires are vilified more than they're revered now. Power. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Right? Lots of negativity around power. But what do we want in our businesses? Some locus of control, some ability to define our own destiny and our own path there. So power in business actually is a positive thing, and what we're really all in pursuit of for our businesses if we're intellectually honest about it. Strategic assets help you win. That's what power in business is. And ultimately, we're playing a game that is competitive. Unless you're a nonprofit, we're all playing a competitive game in a competitive sport. And we need strategic assets that help us win, that create a base of power for our companies. This is one of my favorite books of all time. If you're not familiar with it, I would go check it out. I think it's as relevant now as it's ever been, given all the change, transition, and transformation that we're going through. And he talks about 7 powers. We could debate those. Are there more? Are those the right 7? Doesn't really matter. The base premise is that there is power that you're going after, you're trying to leverage, right, to make your company successful and to make it better. So Hamilton, I think, mostly gets it right around power. Hamilton talks about what power equates to for businesses. Pricing power, competitive moats, better distribution, gaining market share, et cetera, et cetera. And these are things that we all want in our businesses to some degree and level, depending on what type of company that you are. I think having an AI operating system for your company is table stakes in the AI era and beyond. Because if you don't have an AI operating system for your company that drives efficiency and productivity and makes you able to operate better, to generate power for your business, and your competitors do have an AI operating system, do you think that's an equation that works to your benefit and in your favor? I don't think so anymore. So I think this is not optional, given that AI is not optional at a macro level from a productivity and economic perspective. People know who this guy is? Google me, I win. Right? Signetti, the coach of Indiana. I think this is going to correlate to, if you have an AI operating system for your business, you probably have an ability and an opportunity to win moving forward. And maybe you could say to people, Google me and Google my company because I win. So I think it's table stakes. I think it's the only thing ultimately that is going to help ensure that you're competitive and that you're going to have a chance of winning. And then I think there's another level. And this level I call domination. If you have an AI operating system essentially running your company, and then you have the smartest, most capable people that you can find architecting, managing, evolving that AI operating system, then I think you have a chance to actually dominate in your industry and in your space. So there's always levels of good, better, best. In this situation, I think you need to have one to be competitive and to win. If you want to go beyond winning and you actually want to be sort of a leader and a champion, I think you can. So let's talk some more about this why. Who said this? Yell it out if you know it.
Bezos.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos. I told him I was going to reference him in my talk. He didn't return my text, which is unusual. But, he's probably busy. So why would he say this? And is it true? Are your competitors' margin your opportunity? Is it true? Yes or no? Yes. Why?
If you're going to be a cost leader, it can be true. But what if you're doing differentiation?
I would still argue that it's true, because what do you do when you grab someone else's margin?
You exert power over them.
Yeah, but it gives you options that they don't have now, right? Because you've taken their stack of chips, moved it over to your stack of chips. You now have options they don't have. Increased efficiency and productivity give you optionality. If you can increase your efficiency and productivity by, let's say, 25%, you have 25% more now that you can put into marketing, that you can make your AI operating system better, right? You now have leverage because you've increased productivity and efficiency that you can now deploy in other ways that they can't and they don't have anymore. This is part of a Bain report. There are two things that are underlined that I wanted to call out. One's in the white. So let's talk about that first. They're saying they're already seeing companies get 10 to 25% of EBITDA contribution. We're seeing that internally. We're seeing that with some of our clients, in some cases more. The one that's orange, the last sentence, because when you really want to make something stand out, you make it a different color and underline it. So that's what I did here. They're basically also saying, and this is report after report is showing this, there are now leaders developing and there are laggards. Leveraging AI. And if you're in pilot purgatory and you're just this tool over here, this tool over there, trying this, trying that, and you're in experimentation mode for too long, what happens? You automatically define the laggard category. Because that's the difference between being intentional about getting to an AI operating system versus just tinkering. And I know there's a national and I think a local group called AI Tinkerers. No disrespect to them. Tinkering ultimately is not really a strategy, right? So getting to an AI operating system is the objective. Systems are much easier to evolve and scale, aren't they? But better and easier to scale than what? And here's where we're going to start to have some real honest conversation, and some of you are maybe going to squirm a little bit. I'll let you take that in first. Agree? Disagree? It's okay to disagree. Systems are pretty understandable, aren't they? Are people that understandable? Are people very predictable? We're pretty complex. We're pretty messy. When I was practicing this, I worked in a couple of colorful words, and if you use the rehearsal coach in PowerPoint, it comes up and it goes, ooh, bad boy, don't do that. So I won't say what I said before. But people are messy, right? And complicated. So is it easier to scale a business that is based upon an operating system, or easier to scale a business on top of people?
You can't scale a people business.
Can't really scale a people business. So, what's that?
Team with proper process.
Team with proper process?
You can scale, right? You can scale a team of people with proper process. But in essence, it's a small version of an operating system.
I don't disagree. Yeah, I think that there are some opportunities, right, and that's why Amazon says the best, size of a team is if you can't serve them with, 2 pizzas or something like that, right, that's gotten too big. So there are some myths and some colloquialisms out there like that. But fundamentally, I think the most complex systems are easier to manage than human complexity is. Systems can collaborate better with other systems than people can with other systems or people in between. Oh, crap. Other systems. If you have an AI operating system for your company, what are your customers going to have? The successful ones are going to have an AI operating system for their company. What about your vendors? What about your partners? So if you believe in this premise of having an AI operating system that is the digital skeleton of your company, that's good because all the other successful companies are going to have one. Your ability to tap into that AI ecosystem and that AI infrastructure is going to be critical in the future. Because the web that we've known is going to pale in comparison to the web of this AI economy, AI ecosystem, and AI infrastructure. And that's why I think it's table stakes to have an AI operating system for your company. Because if all the other successful companies are going to have one, and you don't, how are you going to participate in this web of agents and transactions and connectivity? Let's dig into this a little bit more like our friend here on the beach. That's actually not one of my dogs, but it was a cute picture. So, cuter than the pictures I have of my dogs, apparently. Mr. Lunka, you probably will enjoy this part of the talk. We think we've been connected in the past, and our systems have been integrated. And we've had different evolutions of that, right? EDI still exists today in some big corporates. Then we had APIs, and we had iPaaS. Different evolutions and ways of integrating systems. Have those made us more integrated and more connected in a holistic, sort of seamless, easy way? Ryan, what would you say?
No.
I would agree with that premise. Part of that is because of the software industrial complex. How many software products and applications do you have at your companies? Some people can't even count. They can't even add them all up. Why? Because a long time ago, it transitioned from buying software to buying a business process in a box. And we got sold that we needed an HR management system, and we needed a CRM to manage our sales team and pipeline, and we needed a warehouse management system if that was appropriate to the business. And so we bought business process in a box masquerading as software. These things were also said because in the cloud, SaaS, highly integratable. Is that true? No. So we ended up with all of these software point solutions with data silos, context silos, content silos, because how easy is it to connect your HR management system to financials and to your order processing system and then bring it all together? It's a Herculean effort, super expensive, and then ultimately if you try to go down it, this system changes how they approach something, and now you sort of have to start from scratch. So not very integratable and not very tied together. I try to stay away from hyperbole as much as possible, but I enjoy a hyperbolic conversation as much as anybody else. The important thing that I want to, the start of the second sentence here is the most important thing in this screenshot. Over $1 trillion of market capitalization for SaaS companies went away in the course of a week. Why would this happen? Investors, analysts, people referred to often as the sharps, think that SaaS businesses are now in trouble because companies are going to be moving to AI operating systems inside of their business. Go look at Monday, go look at Workday, go look at some of these SaaS companies. Their businesses are fundamentally in trouble. Are they all going to go away? No. Are some of them going to pivot? Are some of them going to recover? Yes, some of them will. Some of them will persist. Are a lot of them going to go away? A lot of them are going to go away, or at least be shells of their former selves. So this is about leverage. And here's where we're maybe going to get a little bit controversial too. Leverage of capital, time, resources, ultimately, pretty much anything, right? Because that's what AI does for us. That's what AI is about. Human capital and automation capital are colliding. If you were a betting person, starting with the initial analogy that this is table stakes and that picture of a gambling table, if you're a betting person, knowing what you know right now, would you move your chips in the direction of automation capital, or would you move your chips toward human capital? I would move mine toward automation capital. And that's what's happening. CEOs and executives are saying, I want to run a company that is leaner and meaner, and actually has fewer people inside of the company. Drive more profit, drive better earnings, drive better price per share if it's a public company. Less is more from a human capital perspective. And they're betting on automation capital. This happened just a couple of weeks ago. Pointed to AI, 40% of the workforce. This happened from Atlassian. I could reference many, many more. Doesn't really matter. Two sort of proves the point. Why are they doing this? There was a clue a couple slides back. Well, which side of the table are they betting on? Are they betting on automation capital or human capital?
Yeah, they're definitely doing that shift, and that's why we hear about a lot of the layoffs. It's not that AI has really done the jobs of the people, but they want to invest in AI.
Exactly.
Instead of the people.
Right.
Will you repeat that?
Yeah. Ray said it's not because AI has necessarily changed the business yet, but they're betting on that being the future versus the human centricity of the business moving forward. And I agree with you. I think this is about automation capital colliding with human capital. Go ahead.
Are you okay with more questions
Yeah,
now?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I agree with that to a large extent. I think the actual bet is on the advantage that AI gives you in terms of compression of time for lower resource input. So as an organization like an Atlassian or a Block or a Accenture or whomever, your ability to compress time and create more output is your advantage with less resource.
Totally agree. Did you come up and get an advanced look at my slides while I wasn't looking? Okay, we're going to talk about that. So obviously I agree.
I'll kick him out if he does it again. All right?
Yeah. So is this what's now being called AI washing? Were these companies bloated? Did they have too many people? Did they overhire? And now they're letting people go and they're pointing at AI because they mismanaged the company. In some cases, that's probably true. Sure, let's not give everybody a pass. But if you look at Block, which is the parent company of Square, they've been performing pretty well. So even if we say, okay, let's say 50% of it is AI washing and 50% of it is a bet on automation capital moving forward, and we don't take one side or the other too demonstrably, I would also argue that it doesn't matter. Because the outcome of them reducing their workforces and putting a bet on automation capital is the objective. Those people getting riffed is an outcome of the objective, which is betting on automation capital. So we're starting to get a glimpse into some other areas of why this is happening and why automation capital is going to be the bet increasingly for a lot of companies and a lot of executives. This is Databricks. If you don't know who they are, that's why I put this screenshot up there. I'll give you a second to consume it. They are a platform to house your data warehouse, data lake, your data in some form or fashion. Recently, they raised another round of funding, a cool $7 billion, so they're doing okay. But that's not what actually caught my attention as part of their funding announcement. This did. Real traction inside of a real business that just raised another $7 billion. Who was putting the databases in before AI agents were doing it? People. Human capital colliding with automation capital. This represents automation capital. Some of you probably saw this. Anthropic came out with their most recent economic trend report. What's in red is where they see traction inside of various roles and functions now in companies. Blue is where they see it going. The real story here is the red is going to consume the blue faster than anyone expects and anyone is going to be able to react to. They also say in the report that the most secure jobs moving forward are bartenders and dishwashers. So, never wanted to be in the restaurant business, but maybe I do now. I hear this a lot after I give talks around the country. And sort of, Ray, it goes to your comment. Is there real value here? Is there a real ROI with AI? Is there real traction? So not just placing a bet on the future of automation capital, but is there a real return? We have built an AI operating system at Transform Labs because you have to eat your own dog food if you're going to do this work for clients and if you're going to run around the country talking about it. So one of the areas that we've automated is many of our marketing functions. This is a snapshot for marketing of the value to us. And this is out of a report that the AI engineer who's embedded in our marketing team came up with and said, this is what our automations are valued at. This is a decent amount for us. If we were $1 billion company, that 87K would be 100x that. So is there a return happening? There is for us. There is for our clients. So the people who are out there who are saying there isn't real ROI on this stuff, either are in denial or they're dissenters because they don't want to believe that the automation capital side is winning and progressing this quickly. Jason, here's your slide. Job compression is the result. Workflow compression is the goal. AI doesn't care about having an AI operating system, doesn't care about how many people block let's go. Their AI effort is how do we compress workflows? A derivative of that is now maybe there aren't people doing those workflows. Let's run through a really simple example of a workflow that could get compressed with AI. If you're a company that receives a purchase order by email from your customers, what has to happen? Somebody has to open the email, somebody has to open the purchase order, someone has to look at the purchase order, someone has to transcribe that purchase order and data enter it into your order management system. It seems kind of advanced, right? Because when we would say, oh yeah, we get our purchase orders via email, that seems sort of high-tech-ish, right? But does the workflow I just described sound very high-tech? I would argue, what's the difference between getting a purchase order by email and getting it by fax? I don't think there's that much difference in the workflow because someone has to open the purchase order in the email, or they could just go pick it up off the fax machine and then enter it into the order management system. So if AI could do this, which it can, that whole workflow around getting orders from customers into the order management system, right, gets compressed and now has driven efficiency and productivity inside of that company around one very simple workflow. Does that make sense? It also is not easy to go find an image of a fax machine, by the way. So this is I think that's technically a copier, but it's the best I could do. We've been here. If you've heard me talk before, I talk a lot about the Industrial Revolution and evolution because we have recency bias. Most of us in the moment assume that what we're experiencing is the first time anyone ever has experienced what we're going through. And we're not very good stewards of history. And we don't really want to take time to go back and say, has anybody actually gone through this before? Because we'd rather believe that we're in our own feelings and emotions and that we're justified in that. But we've sort of been here before because during the Industrial Evolution, lots of new systems and new ways of working and doing things, right? Do you think those people had the same sort of apprehensions, concerns, qualms about the Industrial Revolution that we're having about AI? Yes. Go ahead.
So, new jobs open up as well, but a lot of it was carried through government regulation and legislation that helped the people themselves as well, right? So there was changes not just in the corporate side, private industry, but also in sort of the public industry.
Sure, and I think we're going to see that with AI too. I think we're going to see a lot of societal change. I think we're going to see a lot of political conversation around this. It's already starting. I think we're going to see lots of laws and regulations around this. I think we're going to see a lot of attempted retraining and reskilling of people, 100%.
And then in addition, a big difference is speed, right? This is probably occurring much faster than the changes we saw in the last few revolutions of industry. And that's some of what I've read recently around, AI being capable of replacing nearly 90% of jobs by next year. But adopting that through the country and through private and public sectors is unclear how long that might take.
Totally. Yeah, this is a tsunami, right, that the other evolutions, we had time to adapt, at least more time. Although if you go back and read history, the people back in the Industrial Revolution thought it was imminent. They did not realize they had time. And so we're also not a great judge of relating our feelings around something to the practicalities of either how quickly or slowly it's going to happen. We just want to feel it. Yeah.
I kind of see it almost like a messy middle. Like, I'm in marketing, and I think there's a misconception, probably the same of when people think that they can start putting the AI systems in. Like, it's not, yes, it's easier than it's ever been, but that doesn't make it easy. People creating content, they just think that they can take what ChatGPT gives them on the first go and post it. That's where we see the messy AI slop everywhere. So how long do you think this messy middle before people actually understand, oh, it does require this front end work and we need to commit to that? When you are doing the marketing piece, you don't just take the first piece of content. I train it with my brain and my strategy for a long time.
We're going to be in the messy middle for a long time, I think.
Which means a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, but I think we're going to be, because this is also going to come up later, we are predisposed to want to hit the easy button. And if AI and all the AI tools are like big, shiny, easy buttons for us, guess what we're going to do? we're going to hope that, yeah, like do this thing for me, and should I take the time to review it, and should I take the time to sit back and analyze it and really think about it? No. Like, I got a million other things to do. So I think we're going to be in the messy middle, to answer your question, for a long time.
Thank you.
But that's why it's important to be intentional about this. Here's a really interesting stat. So in a portion of my lifetime, 70% of today's jobs have been invented and created. That's mind-blowing. When I saw this, I was like, this is like crazy talk. But then when you start thinking about it, supply chain and logistics, how long has that been around as a domain in business? Not that long. How long has data science been a job function and a role? Not that long. How long has influencer been a job? And everyone, that one always gets giggles. Everybody either wants to be an influencer or it's a sarcastic laugh and they're making fun and mocking influencers. Neil, you're an influencer. How do you feel?
I don't refer to myself as an influencer, so we'll leave it at that.
So this is a reindustrialization. My guess is if we looked back 40 years from now, 80 or 90% of the jobs will have been created between now and then, even at a higher percentage than happened right over the last 40 years. Yeah.
And Harry and I are having a conversation about AI. I mean, banking, of course, so it's a little bit more, it's different. A lot of regulations in there we don't use much, but AI is a force multiplier, basically. That's what it is. So you have to know what you're inputting in there. I think you made a comment about the prompt, right? You have to know what you're asking. You can just ask a question and assume it's right. You don't know what you don't know. So you got to train yourself in asking those questions and take the blinders out, because we're talking yesterday about a project that I was working on, and I was asking him as the expert, and he said, why don't you ask AI? And I was like, oh, wow, why don't I ask AI? And I went ahead and I asked AI, and it answered exactly what I was expecting him to answer. So it's a force multiplier, but you need to learn how to use it and take the blinders off and go at it and work with it. You mentioned something about people not wanting to use it or being afraid of using it, right? And I think that's going to change a lot as we progress and learn more and more and more about it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to talk more about, too, individual use versus getting to a company AI operating system. So a little bit of a drum roll. I created a visual representing, well, I didn't create it, Gemini created it. And I like the fact that it's a little bit, it's kind of a matrix, which is good, because I also wanted to send the message with this visual that this is not going to be easy to get to an AI operating system for your company. Look at all the nodes, look at all the connections, look at all the integrations. It's got to connect to legacy stuff. It's got to connect over here, IoT devices, robotics, other things. And so this is not going to be easy to get to an AI operating system for your company.
Shout out for innovation.
I know. That's perfect, right? And then there's Greg and Chris pointed out, we had a meeting yesterday, and they pointed out that there's a node over here that's sort of a light bulb with like a mist around it that doesn't have a label. And so, but I think this is from it. And the other reason I like this image and I used AI for it is because I wanted to know what AI thought an AI operating system for a company would look like. And this is what it thinks it looks like. And it's 80 to 90% of the way there, right? With a little bit of cleanup. But it sort of knows this is how it should be used inside of a company as an operating system, which I think is also powerful. My buddy Jensen sort of agrees with my premise of an AI operating system. On Monday, he talked about open claw strategy for every company. And NVIDIA announced NemoClaw for them to make sense of it and to put security around it and essentially make it more usable, right, inside of companies. The most important thing I thought that he said was, and I'll let you read this, does an agentic system strategy sound sort of like an AI operating system? So I appreciate his endorsement and validation of my theory before I came to do the talk today. He also has not returned my texts. So Bezos and Jensen are both now on my block list. Yeah.
Has everybody heard of OpenClaw? Do you know what OpenClaw is?
If you haven't, go check it out.
Yeah.
Or go to AI Meetup on Tuesday, and Chris is going to demo what he's doing with it.
It's relatively new. I mean, I know it's not brand new, but
Yeah.
It's like 3 months old, so it's like ancient.
thanks for the correction. Yeah. So I'm way behind, is what you're telling me. I just was thinking of the crowd. I thought there might be somebody that had never heard of OpenClaw before. So
I think that brings up something that we're all grappling with this, which is the tools are evolving so fast that if you're trying to learn them, it becomes overwhelming, right? Like it was, you got to learn ChatGPT. No, Gemini's better. No, Claude Code, just change the game. Oh, if you're not using OpenClaw, you're behind everyone. Oh, wait, no, OpenClaw is not secure. You should use this tool. You should use that tool. If you're trying to build a cohesive OS to actually run your business, how do you not get overwhelmed by the constant pace and make sure you're focusing on actually utilizing these tools rather than what's the newest best thing? You know what I mean? Like, how do we know which of these tools to use when they're rapidly changing so quickly?
Pick one, pick a stack, and run with it. Because if you get on the tool carousel, you are going to get dizzy, nauseated, and you're probably going to vomit in the corner. Yeah. And there is, and if you decide, oh, like we're gonna go all in with Claude, right? Okay, cool, right? And then figure out how to wire that up, etc. But I would also say start from the strategy and what kind of business you are and what kind of business you want to be and how you want to operate, and then let that drive the tools. There's too much tool back to strategy right now of, hey, we've got this and we've got that and we're trying this, and that's how people end up in pilot purgatory. Because sometimes they're in pilot purgatory because they're using OpenAI over here and they're using Perplexity over here and they're using something else over here. That is not a strategy, and that will not get you to an operating system.
Yeah, it's not the tool, it's the fundamentals of what that tool gives you. So regardless of what tools you're picking, there's 10 or 15 fundamentals that go into sort of how these things work. That's what you should be paying attention to, not the individual models or, hey, 5.3 came out, now 5.4 came out, but it doesn't have a codex model. And like those kind of things are just going to wash constantly. It's the fundamentals of how do these things get put together and communicate is what you really want to be paying attention to.
And I would follow that up with, this is a commodity game now at the big model level, right? There is going to be no differentiation if you tap into OpenAI's API and I tap into it and we're both using it in the same way. There's no differentiation there. There's no competitive advantage. So your AI operating system for your company has to be inside out, not tool in. Systems thinking is going to be really important. If I flipped back to that AI operating system visual, architecting, evolving, governing these things. So not everybody knows what systems thinking means, so I pulled down a definition. And I think after you read the definition, if you weren't aware of systems thinking, it'll make sense why it's going to be important. And this is that layer, when I said earlier, if you have the most capable, smartest people on top of your AI operating system, they have to be systems thinkers and they have to be systems people. So how do you go about this thing? We have our own framework that we've now developed after our work with clients called Transform OS. And we've been doing this a long time. It'll be 31 years come May. And so we've been helping companies to leverage technology better for a very long time. It's what we wake up doing. That's what our team is good at. And we love this and we're passionate about it. And so AI is the next evolution of our work over that period. If you scan that QR code, we'll send you our playbook for our approach to getting an AI operating system into your business. It's brief. It's like a 10-page deck. It'll come to you as a PDF, super consumable. Want to shift gears? Somebody was talking about this isn't going to be easy, and I reinforced that. And so I wanted to include that here. And when I was thinking about easy, for some reason this song popped into my head. Easy Like Sunday Morning by Lionel Richie. Anybody hear that? Anybody know this song? Yeah. So I went to start searching for an image for this song. And then I came across this. He sells perfume by the name of the song. And you can go on eBay, you can get it. So for $37, plus shipping probably, this is an actual screenshot from eBay, you can get Lionel Richie's perfume, Easy Like Sunday Morning. And so this was a little bit of a surprise for me that he had branched out into perfume. But the point is getting to an AI operating system going to be easy like Sunday morning? And we all know the answer to that by now. No. And part of the reason is because of confirmation bias. We have all gotten paid, promoted, employed based upon what we know about how business works, how functions in business work, how our role functions inside of a business. So we have all of this history and all of this, I'm going to call baggage, about the way things are supposed to work and how we work inside of it. We all have a playbook that we run plays from. If you've been successful, it actually makes it worse. Because then you want to run the same plays over and over and over again. And in a finite game, like a sporting event, that's okay. Because if the off tackle to the right run is working, what are you going to do? You're going to keep doing it until the defense adjusts and they stop it. And then you can run a different play. But in business, we're playing a finite game. So you shouldn't be fundamentally running plays over and over again from the same playbook, but we still do because we want things to be easy and predictable and manageable, et cetera. But I would argue that AI requires a new playbook and running new plays, and not just operating the way that we've historically operated. I'm going to have to keep moving. Hold your question to the end. How you've operated and layering AI on top of it is good. This is what most people are now calling deterministic. You give the processes, AI understands the processes, AI works on top of those processes and those workflows. That's okay, right? That's good. That's sort of the winning category. That's where you're Kurt Signetti, right? And Google me. That's good. But obviously if that's good, that implies there's a better, and there is a better. It's when you adjust the way you operate to leverage AI to its fullest capacity. So you're not forcing AI to just work inside of the rigid environment of how you've always operated. You think about, how could I operate differently to leverage AI better? And this is now considered probabilistic as a term inside of the industry. So there are going to be some roadblocks along the way. This is not going to be easy. A couple of points here that are probably also going to make people squirm in their seats a little bit. For mid-market and up, employee adoption is the wrong objective. If you're a small business, sure. If you're mid-market and up, having individual people using ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, right, is not any of this. It's not scalable, it's not manageable, it's not governable. If you work inside of an organization that has compliance and regulatory things, having individual people using AI tools is probably not the way you want to go. Really brief story. A couple weeks ago, was at a company. CEO says, hey, our financial daily reporting changed. And I was like, why would that be? And he was like, I don't know. So I went to the accounting department and I said, who here is doing the daily financial reportings that go to the executive team? And one of the people, raised her hand. And I said, what happened 6 weeks ago? And she said, oh, I started using ChatGPT to do the daily financial reporting summaries. And I said, okay, sweet. And I said, what are you sending it? And she said, well, everything, because I have to do the daily financial summary reports. I said, what's everything? Customer names, account numbers, values, etc. I said, you probably don't want to be doing that. And she said, yes, I do. It saves me 3 hours a day. I said, okay. What are you doing with those 3 additional hours? Nothing. So the company was not getting the increased efficiency and productivity boost, plus they had risk now, and so individual employees using AI tools is probably not the approach that you want to take. Does one size fit all inside of this whole AI operating system thing? Of course not. This is small, medium, and large, essentially. If you're a small business in green, you're probably going to have individual people using AI tools. If you're mid-market and up, I would argue you need to have an AI operating system for the business. And if you're, depending on the industry you're in, the type of company you are, products and services, right, you're going to bob and weave a little bit inside of this. Some companies are going to remain very human-centric. I belong to a couple of CEO sort of executive groups, and when we get together, phones down, computers down in a way, because we want to be present and we want to be intentional with the conversation. They're going to remain very human-centric because that's the value proposition as part of it. Should most companies be human-centric? I would argue no, because I think it's going to be a real tipping point, because if you think you should be human-centric, but the rest of the industry and your competitors go system-centric, I think you're going to be in trouble. And this is nothing, I like people. I spend a lot of time around people. I think the realities of the situation, most companies to remain competitive and drive efficiency and productivity are going to be system-centric companies. It's automation capital colliding with and defeating human capital. This is part of the reason. Everybody read that? Have you ever experienced in your current company or a previous company where the answer to every question was, I don't know, go ask Bob? Or go ask Mary? Is that good when you're trying to get to an AI operating system? Nah, not good, not helpful. This is fundamentally bad without AI, right? Let alone trying to get to an operating system. But this is how a lot of companies run. A lot of companies also run on the shadow Excel spreadsheets that go around, that actually run the company day to day, not the systems and the software that are supposed to be running the company. That also isn't going to fly as you try to get to an AI operating system. I was at a company a couple weeks ago. Their most recent SOP had been updated 3 years ago. If you are going to try to layer AI over the top of your existing processes and workflows, you probably should have your existing processes and workflows at least current and representative. So this is going to hold companies back from getting to an AI operating system. A big spotlight. Because if it's going to be deterministic and you're going to say AI, make our current processes and workflows more efficient and more productive, it's going to attempt to do that, and then it's going to run into a brick wall. In some cases. Many cases. I say that this sort of getting to an AI operating system takes two things inside of a company. Leadership courage, to say we are going to be in the leader category, not the laggard category. And then following that, a team's ability to say, we understand why this is happening, we understand why we need to do this, we understand where our industry is headed, and then there's trust and belief and confidence in leadership that they're making the right courageous call to move in this direction. This is my final thought, and then we'll open it back up for questions. Is this going to happen tomorrow? No. We can't snap our fingers, we can't wave a wand, and we can't go from operating the way we do today to operating tomorrow with an AI operating system inside of our companies. So, what's realistic? I think this is a realistic timeline to get to in an objective. I think if by 2030 you don't have an AI operating system inside of your company, maybe you're going to be in the laggard category. Now, can you change this timeline? Can you go at it with a little bit more veracity and velocity? And can you pull 27 and 26 and 28 forward, et cetera? Sure. But I think sort of looking at the challenges and the fact that this isn't easy, saying, oh, you're going to go from not having an AI operating system inside of your company to having one by the end of 26, I think that's wholly unlikely and unrealistic. But when's the best time to plant a tree? What's that?
20 years ago.
20, well, good. That's even better than I was going to come up with. Yeah. But if you didn't do it yesterday, right, do it today. So when should you start working toward an AI operating system? Today. All right. Thanks for playing along. Okay. Other questions? Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, in case I don't get to talk to you.